This is WVUA Law Call.
New Year's Eve, it's a time to party, and for a lot of folks, that means it is a time to drink. So it's no wonder that DUI arrests and drunk driving accidents are up this time of year, and DUI is what we are talking about tonight, all aspects of it. If you have a question, just give us a call. Our number is 205-348-WVUA, 205-348-9882. Also, if you have a question and you don't want to call, then you can send it to us via email, lawcall@WVUA7.com. Go ahead, get those calls in. Be the first one to get on the line. We're going to give you a moment to do that and take a look at what is coming up here in the next few weeks on WVUA Law Call. January 4th, a special show, the first show of the new year, and we're going to take that time to meet the mayor, Tuscaloosa Mayor Walt Maddox. Then on January 11th, our topic is discrimination. Then January 18th, so many of us get injured every once in a while, so that's why we are talking all about injuries. And tonight we have a special guest here too. Bob Prince is usually in this seat, but tonight we have the pleasure of having Matt Glover here.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Bob's off working on his tan, and
I know.
Josh is cheering on the Crimson Tide tonight.
And they've left you here with me.
They have.
But that's all right.
With a great guest.
That's absolutely right. We have a tough topic tonight, a complicated topic, and a good guest to help us out.
We're not supposed to have favorites on this show.
That's right.
But my guest tonight is absolutely one of my favorites, and for a lot of reasons. One, he was a police officer for a long time and was supporting his family and worked his way through law school. But more importantly than that, I believe he's the hardest working lawyer in Tuscaloosa. Not only work at the law office, but work at his church and other organizations. You call him any night, he's either at the hospital visiting the sick, he's out driving the church bus, or he's just mentoring to the youth. I think even this weekend he's doing that. But he's a wonderful guy, a great guest, and very, very knowledgeable about many areas of the law.
Well, that's excellent. And
Well,
the hardest working man or hardest working lawyer in Tuscaloosa, that's a pretty big title.
I think it's absolutely true.
All right.
Well, I usually have to work a little harder than most people.
Well, listen, you've been with us before, and we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
And we're going to test your knowledge of dealing with DUI tonight and any other aspects of the law as well, but DUI is what we are talking about tonight. And our first call is coming to us from Tuscaloosa. That is Janice. Janice, how are you doing this evening?
Fine. I would like to know, how long do a DUI stay on your driver's record?
Janice, that's a good question. The Department of Public Safety regulates all the driver's license records, and any traffic offense, whether it be a speeding or running a stop sign or a DUI, is going to be on your driving record for a period of 2 years. After that, they simply roll off until you get another violation, if you do get another violation.
All right.
Good question.
Next up, we have a call coming to us from Coaling. That is James. James, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. How are things out in Coaling tonight?
Fine.
Well, we're glad you called us. What's your question tonight for Milton and for Matt?
Well, about 2 months ago, my grandson got stopped, and he didn't have proof of insurance in his truck, and he got a ticket for it, and he had to carry the proof of insurance down. A couple of weeks later, he was in an accident, and the accident report says the lady that was driving the other vehicle was DUI and no insurance, and she didn't get a ticket or anything. The state trooper said it was up to each officer or to give them a ticket or take them to jail.
Well, that's interesting. From my experience with law enforcement, they're usually on top of it. If they get close enough to a driver of a car that they go where they respond to an accident, and they get any smell of alcohol, normally officers are going to, they may not necessarily make the arrest, but they're going to follow up with it, and especially if a person, maybe in that case, had to be taken to the emergency room, the police officers can go out there and they can do their request through the legal channels, and they can get the emergency room staff to draw blood samples and so forth, and then they can make a DUI arrest just from an emergency room blood sample. It may be 2 months or a month and a half down the road, but that surprises me in that case.
And sometimes, Milton, I know you and I see this a lot in some of our trucking cases that we do together, but a lot of times in evidence, especially where someone is seriously injured or they die, it's sent over to the grand jury because there's several serious violations a person is facing, and often a charge is not officially made until that time.
Exactly.
All right, and if you have a question about any of the things we're talking about DUI specifically tonight, but if you have another general legal question, these guys are experts, so we will take that question too. Our number is 205-348-WVUA, 205-348-9882. Go ahead, get those calls in, and let's take a look at some of with the different convictions. If you're convicted under Alabama DUI law, your first conviction, what are you looking at?
Well, the first conviction, obviously, you have the legal limit in Alabama is .08. First conviction, most people are going to pay a fine. They're going to lose their license for a period of 90 days. The minimum fine is $600, and the fine can go up to $1,100. And if in a certain case, if the judge warranted it, it's a misdemeanor offense, and it's a Class A misdemeanor, so a person could be locked up for 12 months on a first offense. Now, that doesn't happen that often, but perhaps in a car accident, as Matt and I see in a lot of our cases, we do car accidents and truck accidents a lot of times. If there are some injuries, even though it may be a first offense, more than likely that judge is going to give that person some jail time from that.
All right, and then of course on the second conviction, things get a little stiffer, I assume.
Exactly. There's a minimum of 5 days in jail. You can't get any probation, no community service work for that.
So you have to serve that time in jail.
You've got to serve 5 days in jail.
Okay. And then a fine, is there a fine?
The minimum fine is $1,100, and it can go up to $2,100 on the second offense. Plus, it's going to be a year driver's license suspension.
And is there any leeway on that?
No. The license suspension again is regulated by the Department of Public Safety, and it's really taken out of control of the judge. So a judge doesn't have any leeway in that. Now, Matt and I work, of course, we work a lot of 18-wheeler and log truck accident cases and so forth. And if you have a driver of an 18-wheeler or a log truck that's involved in an accident, and they've been driving under the influence either of alcohol or they've got marijuana in their system, they're going to lose that CDL license for a period of 5 years. So it's a pretty stiff penalty for somebody that has CDL license.
And an important thing to add, if I may, is the regulations are even more strict, and understandably so, for people who drive commercial vehicles.
Well, and they should be.
Exactly. If you have as little as a beer in your system, because you're driving something that potentially weighs 80,000 pounds, they're going to take you off the road for that.
Exactly. That's right.
Our next call is coming to us from Tuscaloosa. That is David. I believe David's question is not about a DUI, but it is a legal question. David, what's your question tonight?
Yes. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Really, this is off the topic, I understand, but it's very concerned to us. It concerns you take a barking dog that actually disturbs you during the day. We're retired. You have a lot of barking dogs, and really by the law, really, what can, people do about it? I mean, what can you really do by the law? And that's really what we need to go by, don't we? Thank you.
Well, I'd like to address that. That's a subject near and dear to my heart. My wife and I had problems with this about a year ago. If you live within the city limits, the best thing to do is that the city of Tuscaloosa has an animal control. You can call the Tuscaloosa Police Department, and they will give you the phone number, and if you will call the animal control, they will usually take care of that barking dog. Now, if you keep making complaints about the barking dog, the animal control people may eventually put you on the spot and ask you, do you want to sign a ticket against a person? And they can be given a ticket just like if I run through a stop sign, I would be given a ticket for a stop sign. So I'm a little bit of an expert on barking dogs as well.
Is that something, too, often when we have topics like, that our attorneys will say, if it's a neighbor and there's a problem, maybe to try to communicate with them?
Well, that's the best way. Any conflict, if you can talk to your neighbor and just call down to them and maybe go down and meet them halfway and just try to talk it out. And most people that are decent will try to get that problem resolved.
Do not take the law in your own hands. That's a common mistake we see.
Exactly.
Is frustration for whatever reason, and it can get very bad. It can get you in a lot of trouble out there.
So go deal with
do
the
what
law,
he said.
Communicate, but don't do anything. Don't
right.
take it into your own
That's
hands.
Right.
All right. And the